I feel like sometimes we let a lot of things, put us down, which is understandable because, in life, sometimes you're going to have some things that, even no matter how positive you are, you're going to feel down. But the thing is that even when you're trying to be positive, but the thing is that, um, good and bad things coexist, but don't let that dim your light. And I feel like that's a part of the process too. Like, you're going to feel down. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You're not going to feel at your peak. And some days you're going to be at your all-time highs. But don't let the correlation of the two, mess you up. I feel like the thing is you have to learn how to manage it. You have to learn how to, you know, realize that, like I don't have to let this thing, like affect me. I'm still learning this too. I feel like I'm not saying I'm a bad person, but sometimes I'm not the best. Sometimes I'm going to, sometimes I let things, sometimes I take over or something like that. But I feel like overall, it's all about I appreciate myself no matter where I am in life. You know, I always want to be somewhere else. I always want to keep flowing. That's just me. However, I feel like you always have to appreciate yourself no matter what you're going through, and we have to appreciate ourselves when we have this sort of thing going on where, you know, where we have this both positive thing, but this negative thing is bringing us down, and it's all about managing it. I feel like a lot of times we're like, oh, like, we only appreciate the highs, but I say this in almost every video. I learn to appreciate the lows too. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I love to see, like, obviously, like, I would want to be in negative situations. Who would want to be in any quote unquote negative situation? Like, who would want to put themselves in that? And but I feel like I like the fact that I get to learn from these situations. You know, I like the fact that I get to acknowledge and see who I really am in tough situations, in uncomfortable places. I don't like it. I don't think anybody likes being uncomfortable, but I like to see, like what I could do to get out of it, what I could do to what I could gain from this so I could do better next time. You know, when every day that I wake up, my whole goal is to be better than yesterday. It's just to be better than yesterday. Like, I feel like we always tend to, like feel like, that we can't change or we're stuck in this rut forever. But I feel like you really can. And don't let things like this mess you up. I feel like we have to see the positive in the horrible things, in the bad things, in order for us to appreciate life. Because I feel like, sometimes we always see that we always tend to appreciate ourselves when things are going well. We always tend to show more love to ourselves when things are going well. But I feel like when we're, in this negative place or in a rut or something like that, I feel like we always tend to put ourselves down. But it's realizing that, you wouldn't, you have to give yourself love no matter what you're going through. You have to, because nobody will love you the way that you love yourself. And the thing is that nobody will help you more than you can help yourself. But I feel like it's all about generally appreciating everything, finding love in everything. To be exact, is basically what I'm trying to say overall. Finding love in everything. You have to find love in the ugly. You have to. That is the only way you really appreciate life. I'm not saying like, oh, like, the quote unquote good doesn't, it's not, it doesn't equivalent to the quote unquote bad. It is not better than the quote unquote bad, negative things. Of course it is. Of course it is. It's night and day. Of course it is. But at the end of the day, it's all about appreciating. You know, I, I'm not I'm not the most like when negative situations happen. I suck at first. Like when it first happens, I suck. I'm an overthinker. I always think the worst of something that could happen, but I tend to shift my mind and be like, you know what? This is not as bad as I'm making it in my head. I feel like a lot of times, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and we make things worse in our head than they seem. And I feel like it's all about, just letting go and just letting everything flow. And this is the thing, at the end of the day, good and bad things, they do coexist most of the time. But don't let that dim your light. Don't let that make you still enjoy your life. And still find the positive in the negative to make the negative a positive.